Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel to spend some of your day with me. Always very happy to have you guys around here. Very grateful to have you guys around here as well. Guys, today we're going to be talking about the 10 ways that you can tell if you're living in a bass fishing fantasy world. Going to have a little bit of a fun video. This is a little bit of a dark video too, in terms of some of the stuff that I'm talking about is it's mixed in with bass fishing and in and around bass fishing, but it's pretty predominant that I see a lot of people live in this fantasy world around fishing. And I sort of want to bust that bubble a little bit. If you're living in one of these fantasy worlds, I sort of want to explain to you guys why that is and maybe help you bring you back down to reality in today's episode here. Also, guys, thank you very much for everybody's taking time to subscribe here to Intuitive Angling. Man, if you're one of the people out there that is a subscriber, which is free and easy to do so, it's just hitting that subscribe button. Big thank you for me and my family, because that's a really important way to help grow the channel. Also, guys, if you want to do something else with the channel, we have channel memberships and we have the Patreon that you can join too. Both of those ways are a good way to support Intuitive Angling. Channel members get extra videos that are private that are just, for the members, or they're not seen by the public every week, and you get access to my email address so you can email me personally and communicate with me any questions that you have. We have memberships starting at $4.99 a month, so it's a really good deal. I'll have the link in the description there, or you can hit the join button on my YouTube homepage, so I really appreciate that. Okay, guys, this is one of those videos that people are going to say I'm ruffling some feathers a little bit. I'm not. That's not my intention to do so. It's just one of the things that you get here on Intuitive Angling. You get a dose of reality, and you get the truth. And sometimes the truth's a bitter pill to swallow. I mean, it really is. So I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm not trying to make anybody mad. I'm just trying to bring to light some of the ways that, in my opinion, a lot of bass anglers live in this fantasy world that they're very comfortable with. So we're going to get into that today. Anyway, guys, I've written down some stuff here. I was thinking about this afternoon in the tackle room, and I wrote down some stuff that, is applicable to this. So the first one we're going to talk about, biggest fantasy world, people living in a fantasy world, is I hear a lot of people thinking, they say to me that bass are dumb. And we've talked about this before on the channel before, and I want to reiterate it. Bass are not dumb. They are masters of their environment. They are super highly intelligent creatures, and you can't equate human intelligence to a bass's intelligence, because to a bass, I mean, if you could talk to a bass, they probably think human beings are the most stupid species on the earth. We start wars, we kill each other, we pollute our planet, we do things to undermine our own success, and we just don't get along, and it's just, we do a bunch of stuff I'm sure they think are stupid. But bass have been on this planet for over 3 million years, the largemouth bass lineage. And if you can do that, you're not a pea-brained stupid creature. You're a master of your environment. You're highly adaptable. You've evolved to, take on any changes that may occur in your natural world. And they are predators. They can survive in a wide range of conditions, guys. They can survive in mud pits, and they can survive in clear water and everything in between. So bass are definitely not dumb. That's definitely a myth. Next thing you know, you're living in a fantasy world if you believe that you do not think color matters to a bass. Now, I hear this quite a bit, that people say, well, color doesn't make any difference because all they can see is gray or red or something. You hear all these people say that all these studies they do, that bass can only see certain colors, so color's not a big deal. Color is massive, guys. Color is a huge deal in bass fishing. I have seen it for 50 years that color makes all the difference sometimes. It makes all the difference in the number of fish you catch and the size of the fish you catch, and also color of the bait you're using changes all the time. It changes from things like, light intensity and water clarities and time of the day and species of fish you're after. Color is huge. So don't ever get thinking that color is not a big deal. Don't try to oversimplify color, because color is a complex topic in bass fishing, definitely a reality of the sport. Okay, next one, guys, why you're living in a fantasy world. If you're one of those people that say forward-facing sonar and live scope is just another tool and you can't make the fish bite, you are living in a fantasy world if you think that. Forward-facing sonar this is not a forward-facing sonar video, but I'm going to tell you right now, forward-facing sonar is not just another tool. I equate that, you've heard me say it before, that if you think forward-facing sonar is another tool, you're comparing a bow and arrow to a thermonuclear device, saying they're both just weapons, and there's no difference in the two. Forward-facing sonar is a completely different universe from any other piece of equipment fishing, technological, advances. There's no comparison whatever. When you have a piece of technology that can show you exactly where the fish are in live imaging, live time, and you can follow and you can manipulate and you can harass those fish by looking at a screen, and you can actually see when the fish is going to bite your lure before the fish even bites your lure, that's not the same as a trolling motor. That's not the same as a power pole. That's not the same as side imaging. That's not the same as anything. Forward-facing sonar is not just another tool. It is the most destructive tool in fishing, but it's not just another tool. Okay, the next reason that you're living in a fantasy world, if you believe this, is that you think that bass bite out of hunger. Bass rarely bite because they're hungry, the ones that you actually catch, except if you're night fishing. Bass mainly feed at night. When they're actively hunting and they're actively feeding and they're looking for crawdads and they're looking for bait, they're hunting at night. That's when they feed and that's when they're hungry. Now, I'm not saying they're not opportunistic, because they'll go out of their way to catch something just out of an opportunistic behavior during the day. But most of the time when you catch bass during the daytime, it's because of other factors. It's because of curiosity, anger, out of reflex, out of competition, a lot of different reasons. But just because they're straight up hungry is not the reason that you catch most of your fish, again, unless you're fishing at night. Okay, next reason, guys, that if you're living in a fantasy world, if you think that our lakes are doing just fine. And actually there's two here. I'm going to put both of these in, being in a fantasy world, if you believe both of these. If you think the lakes are doing just fine, and if you think the future of fishing is bright. Guys, our lakes are freaking struggling right now, and the future of bass fishing is not bright. And this is something that you can't just stick your head in the sand and say, Randy, stop being negative. You got to address these issues head on. If you don't address them head on, then they're never going to get any better, and it's just going to get worse. Our lakes are overfished. Our lakes are polluted. Our lakes have a tremendous amount of challenges as far as overdevelopment on them. All of these factors combined, the point source pollution, all the different type of pollutant factors that have in our lake, mercury contamination, all different type of forever chemicals that are in the water, spraying toxic herbicides and chemicals to control aquatic vegetation, the fertilizers from all the development, that you see, the housing developments being on lakes, the water quality we have right now in our lakes is worse than it's ever been. And we don't have people in positions of power right now currently that they don't have any desire to help that, because they're undermining environmental safeguards and they're deregulating environmental safeguards to allow these companies to pollute at will. So when you have an administration in place that undermines water and air quality, then you're never going to have this help out until we have responsible people in positions of power that put stringent regulations on our air and water quality and penalize the people that are polluting our air and water. Our lakes will continue to go down in terms of being polluted there. Okay, and then finally, the last one, guys, you living in a fantasy world. This is sort of along the same lines. You are living in a fantasy world if you think man-made climate change is a hoax. If you're one of those people, and I get this all the time, say, Randy, man-made climate change is a hoax. Randy, the climate has always been changing forever. Randy, you lost me when you said climate change. Then you're living in a fantasy world. And congratulations, you have been sucked in by the big oil companies and the politicians that they've placed in power. Because big oil companies, fossil fuel industry guys, they've spent billions of dollars on a propaganda campaign over the past 20 or 30 years, and they put politicians in positions of power to reinforce this, that muddy the water on climate change science. So if you're one of those people that think climate change is a hoax, and if you're one of those people that say the climate has always been changing, this is two of the main talking points that the fossil fuel industries have perpetuated on purpose to try to undermine green energy technology and keep fossil fuels as the main energy source, because they make billions and billions of dollars every quarter on quarterly profits. So while the United States is getting left behind in all this climate science and the green energy technology and all the economic boom that's going to come from that, we are being undermined by the propaganda by big oil companies saying that this is nothing but a hoax and we don't have climate change and the climate's always been changing and all this bullshit that they've been feeding the public for 20 years, and politicians that are subsidized and put in positions of power by these fossil fuel companies continue to perpetuate, and certain media outlets perpetuate. Then you've been sucked in and you live in this fantasy world. That's just the reality of the situation. You can dig your heels in and you can deny it, and you can say that green energy is just a scam and that that it's just a big money making thing. Congratulations, if you believe that, you've been sucked into the fantasy world by big oil company propaganda. The great thing about science and climate science is it's real regardless if you want to believe it or not. So anyway, guys, that's just a few things out there. I hope I didn't step on too many toes there, but I just wanted to give a reality check. If you believe some of those things, that's just an example that you're probably living in a fantasy world. And it's okay. People, when you're talking about bass fishing and things about fishing, it's easy to buy into things, just from it being a talking point, and if you hear it repeated over and over enough. But in my opinion, this is just some of the things that I found out through my 50 years of fishing that are just simply not true. So anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys are well. Appreciate everybody, and we'll talk later.